All right, we're going to use Google Slides to make a personalized storybook for our students to be able to see and find things. Google Slides is a free online presentation making software that can be used to make a book appropriate for students with visual impairments, including cortical visual impairment, to find objects both familiar and novel. You can easily incorporate pictures you find from the internet or pictures you take at home. You will be able to view the presentation full screen on a computer, tablet, or phone. You can save each file or book and make changes to it later as well. To get started, go to slides.google.com. Some people prefer to go to drive.google.com where all their Google files are stored. This is up to you. If you go directly to slides.google.com, you may be prompted to sign in if you have not already signed in another place. Otherwise, select this new blank presentation. Google does offer a simple dark theme. However, the background is a dark gray rather than a pure black. For this reason, I will select the simple light background, and then I will change the background later. To change the background, I can also close this themes once I've selected it. To change the background, go to the slide menu and hit change background. Select from the color tab, this top left corner, black, and select done. Now you'll notice that I will have to change the color of the text to do this. So to do that, I click inside this first text and I come up and I change my text color to white. Now I'm going to call this my book, and I will change the subtitle to white as well. You can name it whatever you'd like. Finding my favorite things. Now, you will title your book however you want. This title page is more of a reference for you. It's not necessary, but if it makes it easier for you to differentiate which book is which, you can have a title or not have a title. That's up to you. All right, to add a new slide, you can either come up to the slide menu and select new slide. You'll also notice that Control+M was a keyboard shortcut to make a new slide. Now when you're on this slide, you'll notice that it has a spot for a title and text. Now for this book, we just want a blank layout. So one option is to come up here to the layout button and select blank. Another option could have been to click on the slide itself, come down to apply layout, and select blank as well. We will want to change the background. Again, multiple places you can do this. You can select change background here from the menu. We can also select the slide itself and select change background. Again, we will choose black as our background. Black is going to provide the strongest contrast depending on the picture that we choose. Now, for the first slide, we want to put a picture of something that our student is familiar with. This will be presented by itself on the high contrast black background. To find a picture from the internet, you can go to a new tab and go directly to images.google.com and press enter. Type into the search box what you are looking for. In this case, I'm going to search for a stuffed bear and press enter. Now, most of the images that come up will have a rectangular background with a color on it. We want to find an image that does not have a background. To do this, select this Tools button, then select Color and Transparent. When you click on an image of your choice, you will notice that the background is transparent by seeing a gray and white checkerboard pattern behind the image. To copy this image to your book, you can drag and drop it into the correct tab and then into the location that you choose. So I will click and drag all the way up here to my top menu. I hold it on top of this tab, and then I can bring it down to this page. I'm going to put it right in the middle. It moved it a little bit, but I have the ability to move it again. Now for this page, I want this image to be as big as possible to clearly see on the background. The idea of this first page is to show your student what the rest of the book is going to be about. For the second page, I'm going to click on the slide and select Duplicate Slide. Now all I'm doing here is resizing my bear down to a smaller size. Now, to a certain extent, you could have a series of slides, duplicate slide again, where all that you're doing is moving the bear from one spot to another, and this will encourage your student to find the bear. Depending on your student's level, this might be challenging enough. To add complexity to this challenge, we'll duplicate the slide again. We're going to go back to our image search. We're going to search for something else that may be familiar or not familiar to our student. In this case, I'm going to type banana. Now, you'll notice I already have my tools, color, transparent is already selected. So when I select a banana, it should have this same checkered background. I'll be able to drag and drop it into my presentation. I will resize it according to what I want and put it on this page. Now, this slide, when I present it to my student, I will ask them to point to the bear, just as I've done with the other slides. However, this time now, there's another picture on this slide which might cause confusion. Again, on this page, you have the ability to duplicate the slide and simply move the objects around the slide depending on your student's ability and where they're at and their ability to easily find the object you're asking them to point at. Remember, we are asking our students to be challenged by this, but we don't want to be so challenging that it becomes frustrating. To add another element to this slide, I can duplicate the slide again and go back to my images search, and I can find another object to incorporate. Again, remember my tools and color are still set at transparent. So I will find this picture, in this case of a red ball, and bring that into my slide. I will resize it and have it on this page, moving it around. Now, if you would like, you can make these even more complex if your student is doing very well by copying more than one ball and banana. So to do that, I will select my ball. I can do a Command or Control C, but I'm going to come up here and do copy. And then again, I will click offside of it and do paste. You'll notice that my Command or Control V is available to paste. And I'm going to put this ball in a couple different locations. To do the same thing with the banana. Copy, paste. What I'm doing is I'm increasing the visual complexity of this page to make it more difficult for a student with CVI to spot that bear. I want to do this at increasing intervals so that my student is successful. Now, if your student is still successful with this point and they're able to do a great job, you can add something that might make it even more challenging by adding something with similar salient features. So in this case, I'm going to select a cat. Making sure that my background is transparent, I'm going to bring my cat image into my presentation. And in this case, I might even simplify it by removing an extra banana and ball by selecting it and clicking delete. Now the cat becomes more difficult to tell the difference between the cat and the bear because the salient features of being furry, as well as having pointed ears or ears that come off the top of the head, make it difficult to identify. At this point, you can always duplicate the slide and move the images around like we did before. Another way that we can challenge our students to look at the object of our choosing on a more complex background is to change the background itself. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to duplicate one of these original slides. In Google Slides, I can move that slide down to the bottom by clicking, dragging, and dropping it at the bottom. Now remember in background, I currently have it as black. We can change that background to another background of our choosing. In this case, if I were to choose orange, you'll notice that the bear blends into the background to a certain extent and makes it more difficult to see. You can challenge your student with a myriad of colors to see which one they're able to see, which ones they're able to successfully identify and look at the bear. Additionally, you can change the background to a gradient to make it a lower contrast and make it slightly more difficult for your child to pick up and see. Moving the bear to a spot where it might be lighter in this case might make it even more challenging. Now, Google does allow you to choose an image to set as a background. However, I have found that it might be easier to just bring in an image yourself. So in this case, I will type in yellow pattern. When I type in yellow pattern, I no longer need the transparent selected, so I'm going to switch it back to any color. And I'm going to get all these different options. Now I'm just going to choose one. In this case, I'm going to drag and drop that object into my presentation and drop it in. Now you'll notice that yellow background covers the bear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the bear. I'm going to come to the Arrange menu. I'm going to change the order to Bring to Front, and that will move my bear on top of the background. Now I'm going to take this background picture. I'm going to bring it up to the top left corner. I can do this from any corner. And I'm going to stretch it. Whoops. I'm going to stretch it so that it fills up the entire background. Now, that more complex background that's not a single color will make it more difficult to find the bear on the page for our students with a cortical visual impairment. If you really want to challenge your students, duplicate that slide, we can find a more complex background. I'm going to type lemons in. Here's a background that will be even more challenging to identify the bear. In this case again, I'm going to dump in that lemons. I'm going to click on the bear. I'm going to arrange and say bring to front. Now I could also, if I want, delete the other background on this page. Remember, it's just a picture. The color background is an actual setting. When I bring it up in front, I can do this with a huge variety of backgrounds, depending on the color, depending on whether your student recognizes and knows the backgrounds. It may or may not be easier for them to identify where the bear is. You can change the size of the bear. It doesn't have to be a bear. Ideally, it is an object your student is familiar with and can label and name and is interested in. Now, when you've completed your book and you want to show it, if you're on your computer, in Google Slides here, you're going to come up to the top right corner to Present. When you click Present, you will notice that the presentation takes up the entire screen and can now be treated like a book. If you have a computer, you'll hit right and left arrow to go through the book. You can also hit spacebar to advance. Additionally, if you have a touch screen, touching the screen will advance it from one slide to the next. You want to wait and be patient for your student to find the object on each page. You want to prompt the student whenever something new pops up and prompt them again to find the bear. Keep your language simple and be sure to name the object according to its familiar name your student is familiar with already. You can add complexity as you see fit, as we did in this slide. You can always go back and edit a presentation to change images, change backgrounds, or make it different. Putting in familiar faces of family or school mates is also an option. Hitting escape will get you out of presentation view. to label your presentation and to label your book, come up to where it says Untitled Presentation and click. It's going to grab the title we already gave it. So I'm going to change it from my book to my book about bear. When I hit enter, Google Slides will automatically save this slide. So that if I were to open slides.google.com again, as long as I'm signed into my account, I will see this book, My Book About Bear, being available to click on and view. Enjoy. I look forward to seeing your books. You don't have to bring in an image from the internet. You can bring in an image that you take from your phone or a camera. It'll be fun to see what everybody comes up with.